Our East Africa correspondent Peter Greste with me now in the studio. I mean, it's a setback for al-Shabab. Is that the end?
No, I don't think it's the end. It's a very serious setback. But it would be naive to think that this is the end for al-Shabab. They've had a long time to prepare for this. The Kenyans have been advancing for most of the past 8 months or so on Kismayo. That's been their objective. They've always known that they would struggle to defend the city against the Kenyans in a full frontal assault. So they've had plenty of time to move equipment out, to move men out. A few weeks ago, I was in the town of Marka, which is another coastal town that al-Shabab abandoned. And there, the Ugandan troops showed us a weapons cache that it appears al-Shabab had left behind. And the weapons they left were all fully functional. These were very heavy weapons, very heavy machine guns. And so it implies that they'd stowed those weapons, preparing to come back and use them again for guerrilla tactics. They've been very clear that this is now we're now going to see an asymmetric war. It will be very, very difficult for them to operate without a major urban centre, but we are almost certainly going to see a series of guerrilla attacks from here.
And when you were in that town, the interviews with the people seemed to suggest that they were quite happy to see the back of al-Shabab. Is it the same in all the places they've lost? Where have they lost?
They've lost an enormous ground over the past year in particular. Let's just have a look at that territory. As recently as last year, this was the area of southern Somalia that was said to be under al-Shabab control. Now, since then they've suffered a series of defeats, and that really started around the middle of last year when they came under pressure from the African Union forces. Al-Shabab lost control of the capital, Mogadishu, and then in February government troops and Ethiopian soldiers captured the southern town of Baidoa. After that, the Somali troops took Afmato and then Afgoy. And that was with the help of Kenyans and Ethiopian troops. And now, of course, they've lost Kismayo, the last major urban centre. So they really don't have a stronghold that they can operate from.
Looking ahead, excuse me, the country has a new president. There was an attempt by al-Shabab on his life not so very long ago. But he appears, by having brought some semblance of security to his country, to have won some of the people over. Therefore, it's going to be more difficult for al-Shabab ideologically to influence people, one would imagine.
That's right, and I think we need to compare this period with the time that when al-Shabab first emerged just over 5 years ago. Back then, Somalia was being torn apart by warlords, and people were desperate for someone to re-establish law and order, to establish control so that they could get on with their lives, get on with business. Al-Shabab represented that. Now it's a very different environment. The government has stability, it has the backing of a very powerful military force, it has a degree of legitimacy, and it has popular support. There is a narrow window of opportunity here. If the government can't deal with security, if it can't get people, if it can't deliver services, then we could see its support unravel and al-Shabab find space to come back. But at the moment, I think most people are really willing the government to succeed.
Peter, we thank you very much indeed. That's Peter Greste, our East Africa correspondent.